He moved a bit closer, and the hair on the back of my neck went up, the wolf in me raising its hackles. It would be no large matter for me to sink my teeth into his neck and tear his throat out. No issue I'd lose sleep over. But as much as being a dog taught one to live by violence, it also made it imperative to choose one's battles wisely. "Because he continued, his warm breath brushing over my cheek, making the rabbit I'd consumed for breakfast gurgle wretchedly in my belly. "They catch every dog that deserts, you know that? Every single one. Then they bring you back here and make an example out of you, strip you naked and string you up." His eyes roamed over me, his voice lowered. "When it's done, I get your body." A wet sound as his tongue slithered over his lips. "I get to do what I please before I bury you in the fields." My only response was to inhale deeply of my cigarette, hold it in my lungs for a tick before blowing it coolly into his face. His nose scrunched up, making his nostrils flare, and a little wolf gold lit up his glassy, probing eyes. Werewolves, even those as old and perverted as Murphy, had highly sensitive noses. As he waved at the air in front of him, a low growl emanating from his belly, more wagons full of slaves continued past. The sound of whips cracking made my jaw clench. It was a sound every dog who made it past their 5th year of life knew well. A stray wolf could become a dog, sentenced to a life and death in the ring, one of 2 ways. The first way was the most common. They were bred into it, birthed solely for the purpose of being trained, sold, and fought. They were named dogs after the lesser beasts, as creations meant for nothing but servitude. When we were not fighting and killing, we were working the fields to pay for our living expenses. "Looky there," Murphy said, leaning closer to me still, his posture highly hostile while I remained unmoved, leaning carelessly against the wall. He pointed a bony finger at one of the wagons crossing the square. "I do believe they call that one the Bear, because she's the biggest she-wolf anybody's ever seen." He coughed into his hand, phlegm rattling in his chest. When he was finished, he added, "And because I do know the roster, I know that she's your opponent tomorrow night. How do you like that, Rook the Rabid?" The laugh that followed was vulgar and insolent. My gaze followed his line of sight. The wagon to which Murphy had been referring held only one person, unlike most of the other wagons, which had been stuffed to the brim with as many people as they could hold. The werewolf they called the Bear stood alone in the center of her own cage, and she was indeed as large as a mountain, even in her human form. It had been a while since I had felt real fear, as it was an emotion I had grown mostly numb to, but a bit of it spiraled through my stomach now. The Bear was corded with muscle, veins pulsing through her arms and legs like vines crawling up the trunks of sturdy trees. Her skin was smooth ebony, her eyes darker still, like 2 black holes. Her head had been shaved and it gleamed in the summer sun. The look in her eyes was one I also knew well, that of a dog finally succumbed to their animalistic side. It was a gaze that lacked faith or reason, the gaze of a hopeless, half-mad slave. I'd seen the look in my own reflection on the worst of nights. When Murphy lifted his hand to stroke his fingers down my cheek, I snapped. It was like the flipping of a switch with me, as it always had been. One moment I was in control, and the next I was, well, rabid. I gripped Murphy's wrist tight enough to make his bones creak, slapping my other hand over his mouth to cut off his squeal, while spinning our bodies so that he was the one with his back against the wall. In the following instant, my knee came up and slammed into his most tender spot, and he sputtered a sound that was half gasp and half choke as I shoved him harder against the unforgiving wall of the building, holding up his weight easily with my supernatural strength. My eyes glowed wolf gold as I released my hold on his wrist, transferring my grip to his throat. I squeezed just hard enough to make him panic for air.